Let me see if I can share. Yeah. So there's a document that we have sent to you, which is the POE guide. So you can also go through it on your own, which is also going to assist you in terms of knowing how you get to a level of incompetent. And then it also requires your details, and also you will also know the process flow of your submission. So now you must also know, as I just stated, we'll need your details in your file, which your CV, your qualifications, that must be placed in your file. And then there's going to be your evaluations and all the forms that we're going to give you to populate. So in the document where it says candidate details, that's where you populate your details, and it must be as per your ID, your surname, because the system here, the SITA or your education is linked with Home Affairs. So we don't want that when they are doing the moderation or they're finalizing, they think that there was a fraud, or it realizes that there's a contradiction in terms of information of yourself. So it might also disqualify you getting qualification. And the names that you write there must be the same names that you write when you do on your attendance registers or on your log sheets or workplace log sheets and all that. So there's information on the competency on what happens when we get to that level, and what really entails when one gets to be declared competent. There are all the three level of competency, which is foundational, practical, and the flexible. So our session is only for 30 minutes, so I will just read that important information for you and to give you an opportunity to go through them, so that you're able to can come back to us to get clarity if you source or you seek it. So your POE is very important. A portfolio of evidence is a structured collection of evidence that reflects your efforts, progress, and achievement in a specific learning area, and demonstrates your competence. So there's also the assessment, which is going to also lead to your competency, which I believe, gonna get through it. So there's going to be quite number of levels that are going to partake before we get to a level of competence. So for you to be competent as the health and safety officer, you need to have completed all the unit standards. So we just did the first unit standard, which was speaking about the application of health and safety in a workplace. So we are going to do the firefighter technique. So those are the unit standards. So you must ensure that you comply with what is required per unit standard. So every unit standard will have the learner guide, will have the summative, will have the formative. It will also have the theoretical part and also the aspect of the practical, where we'll come to yourself, your site, or we'll arrange on where we can meet and all that. We'll make those arrangements as the institution, so that we're able to can meet practical with yourself and implement all the theory that we are taking from all these manuals. So like we said, that the 70% part, which is of the practical, is very critical as well. So there are forms and tools that we're going to use to measure the practical side, which is going to be, of course, added with the 30% that we're doing on theory. So the 30% is the summative and the formative. So those are the assessments. So you also have if we render you incompetent on this unit standard or on the whole scope of the course, you have options which you can explore of either appealing and or disputing. And you can do this by, of course, following a particular process. So you can maybe have a reasoning that maybe you think there was unfairness in assessment, or the assessment was invalid, or it was unreliable assessment, or there was part of unethical practices when it comes to the issue of the practices. And then inadequate expertise and experience of the assessor. So, because the people who contribute towards the outcomes of whether you are incompetent or competent, the assessor and the moderator. So those are very critical individuals, which they will be assessing what we are advising you to do here as facilitators. That you must compile this document, you must compile that document, you must compile that document. And then in compiling all those things, we are trying to ensure that you comply with the standard. That when the assessor comes, the assessor will be able to can at least realize you meeting all the items that are on the checklist. So those are really very key as well. So here is should the learner not be satisfied with the internal appeal outcomes, the learner will be advised of the rights to refer the matter to the sitter. So, of course, you know how the appeal goes. You will come to us and say you are appealing that the outcomes were not right. There will be a process which will embark on with you yourself also there of investigation and all those things. And then the outcome will then be presented. So the outcome is being presented and you're not satisfied as well, you then have the power to escalate, because remember, we're all guided by the sitter ATP to ensure that we meet the standard as required. So there are strategies which are applied as well when it comes to the part of assessment, which also will make you realize that the 9964 unit standard is met. So this assessment exercise will cover the outcomes required in order to achieve a competency certificate. So if you check every section that we were doing in our learner guide, that section, there was what we call specific outcomes. So after completing that section, you must have learned to the level of understanding of reaching that specific outcome. So the assessment, its basic mandate is really to check if we are really meeting the requirement of the outcomes of the unit standard that we were doing. So here's a summative assessment will be conducted at the end of the course to confirm assessment judgments, principles of fairness, validity, practicality, and reliability and consistency will be adhered to throughout. So you have, that is why now after completing, we said we're giving you this time to complete your summative, so summative assessment and also formative assessment. This is to allow you to really yes. Uh, uh, Forgive me for that discrepancy. Uh, my network is really not right. Okay, so as I was explaining, then the strategy there, which are on the document we have shared with yourself, and then there's all the preparations on what is to be done, and you can go through the details. You leave where it says the assessor, because the assessor is one that is to fill their details there, and then agreed assessment plan as well. You also fill where it requires yourself, and you will go through this document so to understand what is to be done, and then do the declaration where you are to sign, and then you also place your signature there. It will be placed there. Then there'll be a declaration of the assessor. There's going to be interviews if you're doing RPL, and a letter of confirmation for learner from learner and all those things. So that is the part, the part one of uh, our work. So if you go to your formative assessment, you will see that it also has about 3 sections. Section A, Section B. 2 sections, and Section A inally about 4 questions. So you must fill them according to the guideline that is on your learner guide. We will fill them using the exam pad, so that you are able to can put in your file. So you will then go to this formative, and then as you answer question 1, you will then put a question 1, and then you answer it based on the definitions. You will then put, if it is you are going to use another page, you do that. So when you're using the exam pad, avoid writing on both sides. Use the front side so that it is neat enough. So you know the front side is of the exam pads. Don't need to go behind it when 2 sides, and then you answer it, and then please the wording must be clear, and you must not fear using words as they appear on the learner guide, because that's what we have maybe taught you. You must also not fear using your understanding of explanation based on the skill that you have obtained when we're doing the exercise. Yeah, rona through the learner guide. So you will also learn that on this formative, the question 2 also it has indicators that your answers, for you to know how long you should go, you then depend on the points or the marks on how long you should go in terms of expression in responding to your question. So the first step in reducing the likelihood of an accident in is hazard identification. So you will also have a question which will need you to express yourself there. So the summative also has sections. So summative, we have tasks, task 1, task 2, and then now these tasks, if you could check, and task 3. So Leona in 4 tasks. So this the summative is more of the practical side based on your material condition at your waist. That based on what you have learned in the period of us doing the theoretical part, that based on that learner guide on this application of health and safety. What do you see in your workplace vis-a-vis what we have learned when we speak about issues of hazard, when we speak about issues of safety and health? And the question will be specific so that we're able to can identify maybe your hazard, the workplace. Someone mentioned the issue of the roof as a hazard. We mentioned them like that. Someone mentioned the children there that are smoking, all those things. And then there are issues of electrical. You will go and check if when you do assessment, there are areas where electric cables are exposed to people and water and all those things. So the task, the summative really needs you to spend more time on it. You will be doing a lot of writing. I can assure you. And then some will really require that we should be doing this after the deadline to can clarify on how you should attend to some of this. And you should also note that if this questions requires that we must do practical first, so that we're able to can respond to it. You must then notify us that I think you want to wait for practical. Then after practical, you will then come back and fill it. We'll give you that chance. So you will just file it as it is, and then you populate or answer those that you think you are able to get for now, and then we continue with other unit standards. When we are done and we're busy with practical, then you must know you're going to dedicate time then to answer all the unit standards questions that were requiring you to do practical first before you can respond to them. So there's no much pressure now for you to feel these things, all of them now, if you still have a lot that you want to be exposed to. Because when we do the final round of popular checking your compliance, we will need you to do all the summatives of all the unit standards, all the formatives of all unit standards, and then we'll then attach all the log sheets, the time that you spend on the workplace and practical, and also the field part and all those things. So you must note, you must also note such aspects. So I think that is very key. So you can go through the documents that we just spoke about, and do feel free to come back to us for clarity, and then we are able to can assist. I think for now, because we're starting, there's a lot of questions that you might have, but I think moving forward, will just flow easy. So we have the POE guide, which is going to show you on how things are going to be done. And then, of course, on the other side, we have the summative and the formative. And of course, we're still going through the practical part. So not in all the 72 days or all the days that we're going to be together, that we will be in front of our computers or in front of our phones. But there is a time that we are going to dedicate for us to come and do the practical when it comes to issue standard. What is this thing called? Fire extinguishers, fire pipes, firefighter techniques, and all those things that maybe assessment, and how do we develop a plan for health and safety, and maybe how then do we start to do the issue workplace committee, health and safety, all those things. How do we formulate relationship with other stakeholders that will be relevant when there's an occurrence of an emergency or that car safety and all that. So those are really the factors which you wanted to communicate with yourself here, so that we do not leave you in limbo. So I want to repeat that you do not have a huge pressure to fill in all the questions of the summative and formative as we're giving you, if you do not understand, or if you feel you want to do the practical part and then you are able to can populate everything after you've done that. We'll then give you a chance to do that, because there are some questions that will really require you to be exposed to practical and then come back to respond to them like that. So I don't know if there are any other questions. If there are no questions, I believe we understand each other and everything is in order. We shall then meet sometime next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye. Short.
Bye.
Bye. However, we get the right. No Babalasis on Monday. We shall meet again.
Happy weekend.
Mr. Bobby,
Hello.
you never gave us good afternoon, colleagues. You never gave us feedback as to when will you get back to us with the whole data issue.
Let me, because I think there's an issue here, the ARC files, because someone said you have not, you don't have the ARC files, and then someone spoke about the issue of data. So what we wanted to check is whether it's us, this side, that is going to provide that, or it's your employer there. So kindly bear with us. I think the latest is Monday, but I will go back to the office now. And then if there's any update, we'll post it on WhatsApp. Alternatively, our next session, the first point that I will raise is that one of the outcomes of the data and the ARC files.
Noted, sir.
All is well. Thank you so much. Lovely weekend. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.